Those of you who are smart enough to know what is transpiring here know that these are historic broadcasts, and by making these broadcasts, I have sealed my fate.
I believe this. I found this to be true. If you're not walking on the razor blade, you're really living in a kind of death existence. You have to have that danger facing you that if I slip, I'm dead. That's what makes you live. That's what gives you life. That's what gives you purpose.
A dark page in the annals of America has been written to the crack of an assassin's bullet.
And I've always had a memory, matter of fact, I've had nightmares about it, of the sunlight on Kennedy and the explosion, the car almost coming to a stop, almost to a dead stop. And then
what I couldn't really believe that someone else mentioned was the car had, after that first shot, had come practically to a stop. And later on, in looking back, when I said I could not believe how well-trained Secret Service people reacted so slowly. I would have expected that from ordinary human beings, but I expected that they would have reacted much quicker.
And the law enforcement agencies in this area are going to do everything within their power to ensure that no untoward accident or incident occurs. We will take immediate action if any suspicious conduct is observed, and we also urge all good citizens to be alert for such conduct.
I received a letter from a lady in Dallas saying, tell the president not to come to Dallas. Somebody's going to be out to kill him. I was stunned by this letter, and I went to see the president. I said, look, this is a warning. I mean, you've really got to be careful when you go to Dallas.
Mr. Stevenson has revealed that he had two conversations with the White House about possible dangers to the president in Dallas, Texas. He talked with Arthur Schlesinger, Jr., one of the president's aides, about the incident in Dallas right after it took place, and he said that he, Adlai Stevenson, was told at that time by some members of the Dallas business community that they thought perhaps it was not a good idea for President Kennedy to carry out his plan, which was known then, to visit Dallas.
With local and state police, as well as all of the government and its intelligence and protective agencies highly aware of the dangers that lied ahead for Kennedy, it is very peculiar that the events of November 22nd have even transpired in the first place. Next to Christ, the JFK assassination is the most notorious murder in the history of our existence, and yet the case remains highly controversial even after nearly 50 years. Most of the people that were involved in the cover-up are now dead. However, they have left us many clues as to what really happened. At this time, the case remains solved with the possibility of conspiracy as deemed by the Assassinations Committee. The assassination of John F. Kennedy is an event that has deceived not only the United States, but all other nation-states on planet Earth as well. As our leaders prepare us for a one-world government or new world order, most of the human race around the world are aware of this attempt to end sovereignty and a continuance to revoke our freedoms in the false name of national security. By making this documentary, I am putting my life on the line to bring you the story of what really transpired up to and leading to the assassination of JFK and later RFK. The reason the government and its associates have kept this secret so guarded over the last 50 years is because the truth would shock the world so greatly it will cause a mass revolution, showing the general public exactly how our lives have all been affected by the cover-up and continue to be lied to. The truth about what happened on November 22nd is so overwhelming that if it were to be leaked and become viral, it would change the way we live our lives on a day-to-day basis. It threatens the military-industrial complex so much that by releasing this information, I will be deemed a threat or a terrorist. A foundation built from lies cannot last long, and this is my attempt to end wars and violence all across the world. The world knows of a conspiracy and that there was more than one shooter on the day JFK was killed. However, the government itself still claims that it was a lone assassin that killed JFK. Our government fears for the general public to find out the true happenings of that fateful day, and so it is taking every possible means to cover the facts and paint an image in our minds of what they want us to believe what happened, including tampering and destruction of evidence, the manipulation of media output in broadcasts, and in numerous instances, killing more people to withhold the truth and silence information from being leaked. This is an attempt to bring to light several key elements and paint a proper picture within your mind, and should answer a lot of questions, but as we all know, will also create several new ones. However, these facts and testimonies cannot be denied, and the purpose of this documentary is to prove facts, to be considered for legal and public action of these issues for future use. As stated previously, it is up to you to decide what to believe, but never forget or deny these facts. The media is writing our history.
I worked in that area for, probably 7, 8 minutes, maybe, something like that, until I ran on to Mr. and Mrs. Arnold Rowland. Now, Mr. Rowland told me that 15 minutes before the motorcade arrived, he saw 2 men on the 6th floor of the schoolbook depository.
Well, I saw this man in the window, and he had a gun in his hands pointed downward. The man evidently was in a kneeling position because his forearms were resting on the window sill. There was another man standing beside him, but I only saw a portion of his body because he was standing partly against, behind the window, only halfway.
I went to the south side of Elm Street to look for any signs of any bullet striking the curb or the street or anything. By this time it had been established that the president had been shot. And Deputy Sheriff Buddy Walters joined me at that time.
This is Roger Craig's video testimony as given to the Warren Commission.
Everybody was coming to the scene of the shooting, which is normal. People are just that way. But as I was searching the south curb of Elm Street, I heard a shrill whistle. And I looked up. It just drew my attention. It was coming from across the street. And there was a light green Rambler station wagon driving real slow west on Elm Street. And the driver was leaning over to his right, looking up at a man running down the grass. So I immediately tried to cross the street to take these 2 people into custody for questioning. Just, everybody else was coming to the scene. These were the only 2 people leaving. I mean, this was suspicious in my mind, at the time. But I did get a good look at the man coming down the grassy knoll. And he got into the station wagon, and they drove west on Elm Street. It had been determined that the shots came from the southeast window. How, I don't know. The Dallas police were saying this, so we immediately went there. And Deputy Sheriff Luke Mooney was with me when we found the shells. We found 3 hulls beside the window on the 6th floor. And they were laying 3 in a row, not more than an inch.
This was brass, the 3 spent cartridges.
3 spent cartridges. They were lying 3 in a row, not more than an inch apart, all pointing in the same direction.
It is important to point out that this is the actual photo submitted for evidence depicting the location of the bullets. It's equally important to point out the fact that prints were found on a cardboard box in the sniper's nest, as well as a paper bag containing chicken bones. These bones were never looked into for DNA testing for evidence and omitted from the investigation.
And there was a lunch sack, very small, brown paper lunch sack up there. Had some chicken bones in it. And there was
Notice him dusting the bottle for
soda
prints.
bottle.
Where did these prints go?
And we began then to search for a weapon. And we started toward, everybody took a different direction, and Deputy Sheriff Boone and myself just happened to head for the northwest corner of the building. And Boone was ahead of me by about 8 feet. And there were a stack of boxes just at the head of the stairwell going downstairs. And Boone looked over into it and said, "Here it is. Here's the rifle." So I immediately went over beside him and looked over, and there was a rifle. And then I believe Dave pulled the rifle out and handed it to Captain Fritz, who held it up by the, had a strap on it. He held it up by the strap and asked if anyone knew what kind of rifle it was. Well, by this time, Deputy Constable Seymour Weitzman had joined us. And he said it looks like a Mauser. And he walked over to Fritz. And Captain Fritz was holding the rifle up in the air. And I was standing next to Weitzman, who was standing next to Fritz. And we weren't any more than 6 or 8 inches from the rifle. And stamped right on the barrel of the rifle was 7.65 Mauser. And that's when Weitzman said it is a Mauser and pointed to the 7.65 Mauser stamp on the barrel.
There's an intonation to that statement that it should mean something.
Well, the shells we found came from a 6.5 Italian rifle.
You mean those 3 cartridges?
The two don't relate.
3 cartridges that were
found at the southeast corner.
In the southeast corner.
Came from a 6.5 Italian carbine.
And the media began to write our history books.
Mauser German-made rifle with the sniper scope sights that was found on the German-built Mauser with the sniper scope that was used to kill President Kennedy.
7.65 Mauser, German rifle, familiar to those who served in World War II.
Place. It's a 7.65 Mauser, German-made Army rifle, telescopic sight, and 1 shell left in the chamber. 3 spent shells have been found nearby, and apparently they're hooking this as the murder weapon.
Razor blade, you're really living in a kind of death existence. You have to have that danger facing you that if I slip, I'm dead. That's what makes you live. That's what gives you life. That's what gives you purpose.
Those of you who are smart enough to know what is transpiring here know that these are historic broadcasts, and by making these broadcasts, I have sealed my fate.
I believe this. I found this to be true. If you're not walking on the